I can guarantee you that you won't be seeing any comic book movies on my list this year. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is James and today I'm going to be giving you my top 10 most anticipated movies for 2024. So if you don't know my channel, I've been doing a lot of 2023 wrap-up videos. I did my top 10 least favorite movies of the year, my top 10 most surprising movies of the year, my top 10 most disappointing movies of the year, and my top 10 best movies of the year. And this is kind of wrapping out this set of videos, and I'm going to try and do a live stream where I rank all of the movies I saw this year, in which I saw 88 movies. I'll try and do that, but no promises. And so going into 2024, we've got a lot of really interesting movies coming out, but there are also a lot of films that I'm very worried about. So I thought that I would give you 5 honorable mentions before giving you my top 10. And so here we go. Kicking off the honorable mentions list is Civil War. This is the new film from Alex Garland, produced by A24. A24 has been hit or miss for me for most of their existence. But in the last 2 to 3 years, they've really started hitting with movies like Pearl, which was in my top 6, might be in my top 5 favorite movies of 2022, with movies like The Iron Claw, which was one of my favorite movies of the year, Talk to Me, X, a few others, Hereditary especially. They have started to pick up steam with me, and Everything Everywhere All at Once was great as well. So I'm very curious about this. This is from Alex Garland. He did Ex Machina and Annihilation and Men. I loved Ex Machina and Annihilation. I did not like Men. And so I'm really interested in this film because it's kind of their first action movie. It's their first bigger budget. It's $50 million budget, and it's a proper action movie. It's got some subtext in it, but it's an action movie. What I'm hoping they do is Alex Garland sticks to what he did so well with Annihilation and Ex Machina, and have tell a great story at surface level and a very entertaining movie at surface level, but then also apply subtext that if you were looking for it, you can see it, but if you're not, it's not like you're missing anything. So very cautiously optimistic about this film, but I think that this movie could be one of the best of the year. Next up is a little movie called ISS. This is a movie coming out in 2 weeks on January 19th. It's a movie about 3 Americans and 3 Russians on the ISS satellite, and when the world goes to shit and dies basically through a war apparently, they are told, each side is told to take control of the ISS no matter what. And so this group of people that have become friends for presumably years are now turning on each other. And it seems like a cool thriller. Once again, it's coming out in January, so I don't know, but I really like the trailer. It's got great reviews. It's got a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. So I'm really curious. I really like Ariana DeBose and Chris Messina, but we'll see how it turns out. So second honorable mention, ISS. Next honorable mention is The Fall Guy. This is David Leitch's new movie. And this movie has been getting a lot of traction in the last few weeks, where it's about Ryan Gosling, who's a stuntman in Emily Blunt's movie, and the main star, and they used to be a couple, now they broke up, but the main star of her movie has gone missing, and he has to go searching for him, and he ends up getting into trouble with the wrong people. It looks like an absolute blast. I'm glad they delayed it to May 3rd, because this feels like a perfect summertime movie to kick off the summer period. Really excited for this film. Looks like fun. I love David Leitch. I love Bullet Train. Thought it was great. He hasn't really missed with me so far. And so I'm hoping that this can be his most enjoyable film, maybe his best. So third honorable mention, The Fall Guy. My second to last honorable mention is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. This is the sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife. I loved Ghostbusters Afterlife. It was in my top 10 of 2021. I like the trailer for this movie, and I like the concept of it's kind of set in June, and it's people are freezing to death for the first time ever. I like the trailer. I like that we're bringing back the Ghostbusters. It seems like we're going to get more of them this time. We're bringing in some new Ghostbusters. Apparently, Kumail Nanjiani is going to be in this movie. Paul Rudd is going to put on the suit and everything. It just looks like an absolute blast. Hopefully, it can live up to my expectations. Hopefully, it can be as good as the first one, or as Afterlife. And my final runner-up is Beetlejuice 2. This is a movie that I've been dying to see. I really love the original Beetlejuice, while acknowledging that it doesn't age particularly well. and I've been really excited for it. Tim Burton has been working on this for a while. Everything that I've heard has been great. At the same time, Tim Burton has had a rough few years, in my opinion. He hasn't had a good movie in a while. I hated Dumbo, and everything before that feels like it's very middle of the road. And so I'm really curious to see how this movie turns out, but I'm hoping for the best. And side note, one other honorable mention, if I had to give it what would be Maxine. This is the sequel to X and Pearl. It's the closing chapter of this X, Pearl, and now Maxine trilogy. It would be in my top 5, maybe even my top 3 most anticipated movies of the year, but we don't have a release date for it. All we know is that it's coming out in 2024, and so we don't have a release date for it, so I'm not going to put it in the list. But I cannot wait for this movie. Kicking off my top 10 most anticipated is Mickey 17. This is the follow-up to Bong Joon-ho's Parasite. This is his next movie. He obviously won 4 Academy Awards, and including Best Picture and Best Director for Parasite. And so this is a sci-fi movie starring Robert Pattinson, Toni Collette, and I think Mark Ruffalo. This is a movie where we haven't gotten really any footage of it, but all we know is that it's a sci-fi movie and it's about cloning. And just the name alone would get me interested. I've been really enjoying Robert Pattinson recently. Toni Collette is one of my favorite actresses working today, besides Mafia Mama. I think that she's got a lot of untapped potential, and I like him going into the more bigger budget area of film. This is supposed to cost like $150 million, and I really hope that this holds on to what made Parasite great, but also makes itself very unique and not necessarily wide appeal, but makes sure that everyone can watch it. Or not everyone, but most people can enjoy it, like Parasite. I am worried because Bong Joon-ho is very hit or miss with me. I love Parasite, but I did not like Snowpiercer. That's one of those movies that's great for me until the last 5 minutes where it loses all logic. It goes off the rails. I don't think the ending is very strong. It makes no sense. And so it drops from like a 4.5 to like a 2.5. I really do. It's one of the biggest drops in qualities in movies for me. But so I'm curious to see how it's going to go. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is the most divisive movie of the year, where some people love it, some people hate it. I hope I'm on the side of people that love it, but you never know. So number 10, Mickey 17. Number 9 is Mufasa, the Lion King. I'm not the biggest Lion King fan, but I certainly enjoy the original, and I respect that. I respect the hell out of it. It's not my cup of tea necessarily. Did not like the remake. I didn't think it was terrible, but it's a movie where it's completely devoid of just any charm, where it's visually stunning, but the animation on the lion's faces just make it look dull, where you can tell, like, they look great, but they can't emote, so there's no emotion, and it's just a shot-for-shot remake. So, you'd be kind of shocked that I have this on my list, but the one element that gets me excited is director, and that's Barry Jenkins. Now, if you don't know, Barry Jenkins is one of my favorite directors working today. I've loved almost everything that he's done. Moonlight is in my top 15 to 20 favorite movies of all time. I absolutely adore that movie. That's A24's best. I absolutely thought that If Beale Street Could Talk was great, and I thought his like Underground Railroad movie series was pretty decent as well. So I'm really excited, and I'm curious to see that they're bringing in an Academy Award-winning auteur director to do this property. I also think Mufasa is a very interesting character, and I'm curious to see what kind of tore Scar and Mufasa apart. I want to see how that played out. So this is a movie that I think could go horribly wrong, but it's also a movie that I think has a lot of potential that a lot of people aren't looking at. It's also the movie that I think is going to be the biggest movie of the year by far. I think that this is going to be a $1 billion film easily, because enough people did like the Lion King remake, and it's enough people's first interpretation, if you can call it that, of The Lion King. So I think it's going to be a massive movie. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the biggest movies since Avatar: The Way of Water. So I'm very excited about it, also very cautious. At number 8 is A Quiet Place Day One. This is the prequel to the Quiet Place movies, where it takes place in New York City, starring Lupita Nyong'o and Jaimon Hansu and Alex Wolff, maybe that's his name, and Joseph Quinn and a few others. And it takes place on the first day of the alien attack. And I went to CinemaCon earlier this year, and at the Paramount presentation, they showed us about a 2-minute teaser for this movie. And this movie looks incredible. Lupita Nyong'o looks like she's going to be great in the role. It looks scary, where it's the biggest not the biggest city in the world, but the loudest city, or one of the loudest cities in the US for sure, and maybe in the world, and aliens that react to sound go down there. It looks like an absolute blast. I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes the biggest movie in the franchise. I don't think it will, but I think people are going to flock to the theaters to see this. I like that it's getting its June release. I'm glad that they're delaying it so that they can give it more time to kind of develop, get the CGI right, get everything right. Really excited for this movie. I'm not too worried about John Krasinski moving on from this franchise and not directing it, because he's getting to direct If, which also looks pretty decent. I like that they got the guy that directed Pig to do this movie, so I'm not too worried about that. But there is also part of me that is like, will this franchise feel the same without him? I don't know. I don't think he's directing part 3, and so that's what worries me, is he's kind of just done with this franchise, it feels like. And so I'm very excited about this movie. So number 8, A Quiet Place, Day 1. Number 7 is The Wolfman. This is the remake of the 1941 classic film, The Wolfman, and it just got a release date for October 25th, 2024, so it's going to be the Halloween movie of the year. I'm super excited for this movie. This movie has been in development hell. I don't hate the Wolfman 2010 remake as much as most people, but I don't think it's very good. And so I'm very curious to see this movie take a more modern approach. Originally, it was going to be Ryan Gosling playing the role. That fascinated me. I was super excited. But then I was really excited when they replaced him, because they replaced him with Christopher Abbott, who to me is one of the best up-and-coming actors working today. I'm really excited to see him get something a little more mainstream. Some of the worries here, I'm worried that they're going to use CGI more than practical, which you shouldn't do. This is the Wolfman. I'm also worried that them bringing it into the modern era isn't going to work as well as the just classic, like kind of Victorian era style of the original and the remake. And it's from Blumhouse, which are very hit and miss. Sometimes they usually have one of my favorite movies of the year, and they usually have one of my least favorite movies of the year. But it's directed by Leigh Whannell. And so Leigh Whannell directed Insidious 3, which I liked, 3.5 out of 5. I loved Upgrade, and I adored The Invisible Man. To me, The Invisible Man is a new horror classic. And so I'm really excited to see him take on... I have all the faith in the world in him that he's going to achieve this film, make it great. I'm really excited for what he does. Hopefully he brings us somewhere near the quality of The Invisible Man or even Upgrade. But number 7, The Wolfman. Number 6 is Wicked Part 1. This is a movie that I couldn't have given two shits about before CinemaCon this year. I had no interest in seeing it. I love the original film, Wizard of Oz. I didn't really care too much about Wicked. I have never seen the play. It didn't seem interesting to me. And then at CinemaCon, the last little panel or presentation for the Universal panel was Wicked. And so they brought out about a 5-minute behind the scenes video. And my God, I mean, immediately this movie blew me away. The visual effects aren't even finished, and this movie looks gorgeous. It might be a musical. I don't really care, though, because I think this could work for a musical. It looks epic in scale. And you guys have not seen what I've seen. It looks, from what they showed us, incredible. I would not be surprised if this is one of the bigger movies of the year, and I don't think enough people are talking about that. I absolutely think this movie is going to get into Best Picture right now. I'm going to call that right now. Cynthia Erivo is going to get in for Best Actress. I'll call that right now as well. God damn, I'm excited for this movie. I cannot wait for this movie. To be honest with you, this movie would be in my top 3, but the problem is the strike delayed shooting, and so I am worried that it's going to get delayed to summer of 2025. It's very possible that happens, but I hope it keeps its November release date. This movie, from what I've seen, looks incredible. They quite literally planted 8 million tulips. I'm very excited for this movie. I think it's going to be epic in scale. I think it could potentially be a new fantasy classic. Number 6, Wicked Part 1. Kicking off the top 5 is Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. This is a film that Robert Eggers has been working on for over a decade, I'm pretty sure, since before The Witch came out. If you don't know what this is a remake to the 1922 classic film Nosferatu, which was basically the original take on Dracula. And I really like Robert Eggers. He directed The Witch, which I like. I'm not as big on it as everyone else, but I do really enjoy it. Didn't know what the hell I watched with The Lighthouse, but I certainly respect what he did. And I absolutely loved The Northman. That was one of my favorite movies of 2022. So he has not really missed for me yet. He's had two that I'm not crazy about, one that I don't know what I watched, and then one that I loved. And so, but this feels like a perfect mix where it's gothic horror with some very eerie, just a brilliant source material in Nosferatu that is very similar to Dracula because it was kind of based off Dracula, but it also is different in many ways. How it ends, I'm pretty sure, is different as well. It takes place more in the town. I am very excited for this movie. I think the cast is great. I think Bill Skarsgård is perfectly cast as Count Orlok. I can't wait to see how he transforms. I think the makeup is going to be incredible in this movie. It's probably going to have some of the best makeup of the year for me. I love Nicholas Hoult. Can't wait to see what he does. Willem Dafoe's in this movie. You got Lily Rose Depp, who I'm interested to see what she does because she hasn't been great for me yet, but she's got her. Hopefully, she has her father's blood. And it's got a few other cast members. Aaron Taylor Johnson. So I'm really excited for this movie. I have a prediction that this is going to be my top 3 favorite movies of the year. Can't wait for this movie. Number 5, Nosferatu. Number 4 is my most anticipated horror movie of the year, and that is Alien Romulus. This is Fede Alvarez's new movie, and this is a new Alien film that is set in between Alien and Aliens. Alien is my favorite horror movie franchise of all time. Alien is my top 20 favorite movies of all time. Aliens is my top 100 favorite movies of all time. I love this franchise. Alien Covenant, I think, is one of the most misunderstood horror action movies of all time. It's not perfect, but I genuinely don't get the hate that it gets. And so I was really disappointed that, Ridley Scott's true vision didn't come to true fruition. He didn't get to finish his trilogy. Even though I wasn't crazy about Prometheus, I really wanted to see how this played out. And I was a little upset that we didn't get Neil Blomkamp's Alien 3. But this is the next best thing. I mean, Fede Alvarez, I remember when, I first heard about the Evil Dead 2013 remake because I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it, 4 years after, realizing, wait a minute, this doesn't seem like it's going to be very good. Don't touch Evil Dead. Don't touch Evil Dead. And he made the best film in the franchise by far. I love Don't Breathe. Girl in the Dragon Tattoo, not great, but it's not as bad as people make it out to be. So I'm super excited for this. The cast doesn't excite me too much. There's also a lot of ways that this could go wrong, but I like that it's more grounded. It seems like it's going to be more of that eerie horror vibe of the original, and Ridley Scott gave it his blessing and said it was awesome, and he usually doesn't say that, so super excited. Number 4, Alien Romulus. Kicking off the top 3 is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Not a Mad Max story, a Mad Max saga. This probably would have been about 2 or 3 spots lower until that trailer released, and my god, that is one of the best trailers of the year. I absolutely loved that trailer. Mad Max Fury Road is in my top 50 favorite movies of all time. It's one of my favorite action sci-fi movies of all time. That is a perfect movie to me. You can't take anything away from it. It's great. And so I've been very curious to see how George Miller is going to follow it up and how telling this story is going to explore Furiosa's character more. Sure, would I have liked to have seen Charlize Theron come back? Of course I would have. But once I got over that and that she wasn't going to be coming back, I'm really okay with Anya Taylor-Joy coming in and playing the younger version. I love the trailer. It looks epic in scale. It looks like it's going to be an action romp. It looks like it's going to explain kind of how she got attached to Morton Joe a little bit more. And I'm curious to see her younger life. I love Chris Hemsworth. It looks like he's playing a very different character. I love his makeup and he's kind of transforming. I'm hoping that this is going to maybe tie into Mad Max a bit. But to be honest with you, I don't really care too much. I think that this is going to be close to the same level as Mad Max Fury Road. I absolutely am dying to see this movie. George Miller, this might be, in my opinion, I wouldn't be surprised if this is my top 2 favorite movies of the year. I can't wait. Number 3, Furiosa, Mad Max Saga. My runner-up for my most anticipated movie of the year is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. The Planet of the Apes trilogy, Caesar's Planet of the Apes reboot trilogy, is my favorite trilogy of all time. I don't care what anyone says. Lord of the Rings, yeah, it's great. Star Wars, the original trilogy, yeah, it's great. Nothing compares to this trilogy. All of these are in my top 50 favorite movies of all time. War for the Planet of the Apes might be in my top 10 movies of all time. I think that this is a perfect trilogy from start to finish, and they get better and better as they go along. And so, would I rather have Matt Reeves direct this movie? Of course I would. Would I rather have it be set closer to the death of Caesar? Of course I would. But to me, that trailer blew all those kind of bad wishes, or not bad wishes, but kind of holdbacks away. I think that trailer makes it look epic. I think that it adds a lot of simple suggestions on where the story is going. And I've had a theory for a while that this is going to tie into the Charlton Heston film from 1968, where it's going to, by the end of this trilogy, we are basically going to be tying and going straight into the plot twist of the original. And that fascinates me. I also find it interesting that Caesar's name is being used as something bad, and there are people that are taking his name and trying to prop themselves up. I find that interesting. I find it interesting that the symbol of the window from the first movie from his house is a symbol in the trailer. It's a symbol in the poster when it says 2024. It's on a lot of the magazine stuff. I find that all fascinating. And I think that by the end of this trilogy, we're going to find out a lot about this world, and we're going to have our main ape is going to take up the moniker of Caesar, and in a time of need, they're going to need a new Caesar to kind of in some ways bring the apes together. And maybe it'll put our minds in a different place of how we look at the original movie. Of that's not the original Caesar, that's just someone that had to take up the name to save the apes and to bring the apes together. So can't wait for this movie. Hope it's great. Number 2, King of the Planet of the Apes. My most anticipated movie of the year is Dune Part 2. There is no question about this. I'll say it, and I've said it before, not on this channel, I'll say it again. Dune is, to me, the best movie of the 21st century. There you have it. I mean, apart from one other, which is Logan, which is my second favorite movie of all time, I think Dune is the best movie of this century. And that is a bold statement, but it's certainly up there. With Fellowship of the Ring and Logan, There Will Be Blood. I genuinely think it's up there. And I have said before that if Dune Part 2 can land the ship and land it in a way where it is a satisfying duology, and it continues what's so great about Dune, but also doesn't sideline everything that was great and add upon it, I genuinely think that both these movies will probably be in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Genuinely. I absolutely adore the first one. To me, anyone that says it's not a complete story, I don't know what you're talking about. The entire goal is, okay, the Harkonnens are going to destroy House Atreides. They succeed, and then they think they kill Paul Atreides. That's their goal. They achieve it. They may be wrong, but they do achieve it. And the goal of Paul and Rebecca and Lady Jessica is find the Fremen, and they do. To me, it's a complete story while also leaving little nuggets to be explored if they were to continue. But if it ended there, I'd be satisfied. I adore the book. It's maybe my favorite book of all time. It's one of the best written books. I think Denis Villeneuve absolutely is one of the best directors working today. To me, he might be the best director working today. I cannot wait for this movie. I'm so glad that it comes out only in March, less than 2 months away. I do kind of wish that it was released in like December and they delayed Wonka to March, simply because I like seeing movies have really big success stories. I think that this movie could have rivaled and would have rivaled Oppenheimer for Best Picture, where it would have been really awesome to see the first Dune clean up at the 2022 Academy Awards, and then Dune Part 2 come along for 2024 and just take everyone by storm and just not only make a great duology and make a cinematic achievement for the ages, but also end it all off with being awards victory. So my most anticipated movie of the year is Dune Part 2, easily.